Welcome to the Afterlight Podcast with me, Lauren Grace, a spiritual podcast full of stories and conversations that prove we're never alone. The Afterlight Podcast aims to inspire and educate. Remember, you are the authority on your own life. I encourage you to run everything through your own filter, to take what resonates, and I also urge you to do your own research and consult with qualified professionals for advice on your personal situation. The opinions shared by guests are their own, and any advice by our guests or by me is not a substitute for professional guidance. Thank you so much for listening, and I enjoy journeying back with you to the afterlight. Enjoy the episode. Hey, Lauren Grace here, and welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Sheila Marie. If you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead and you listen to part 1, as this is a continuation of our conversation, and I'm not going to recap anything that we've already covered in part 1. Thank you very much for listening here to the Afterlight. Enjoy the episode. When people come to you, like you said, you kind of leave it up to spirit to come to you. Do you find that people contact you and they go, here are all of the, maybe dead ends that we found on this case, or here's kind of the story, what we think happened, and then can you take it from there? Or is it always sort of a different scenario? Do you find that most people come to you with a forensic case in mind, or are people just coming to you for readings and then some of these stories just seem to pop up? I mean, is it different?
No, a lot of times people will just come to me for forensics, or they'll come to me for a reading. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll know. But sometimes in the forensics, it might be after they've exhausted everything, maybe 3 or 4 weeks into, say it's a missing person. Usually 3 or 4 weeks, they've exhausted everything. An
Yeah.
agent's probably coming to me, or or a family member. Um, yeah, so I find that sometimes people, I understand what you mean. Like if I'm doing reading and I see things, no, a lot of times people will just come to me. I already know that they're looking for information. So I'll treat it like a reading in the beginning, like a consultation.
Yeah.
And I'll go into spirit and I'll ask spirit, okay, spirit, show me what I need to know. And then I'll write everything I do, and then I can tell what type of case it is from what I'm seeing. And I'll tell them I need a little bit more time, or we can solve this in 1 hour. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So, yeah, but I have to go through the motions first to understand. So it's like a 2 hour consultation.
yeah. When people are finding out, like on the police force, that maybe
Mhm.
agent so and so has contacted you to help with the case, do you find there's kind of an interesting reaction? Like, do people get threatened by that? Do they keep that they're working with you under wraps? Is it known? Oh, you can't solve that case? Give Sheila a call. You know?
No, I know what you're saying. Um, so I have like certain contacts that will contact me, and I'll work with them. They're, detectives or an agent. And yeah, they might just exhaust, see what you can get from her. You know what I mean? They'll do
Right.
that. And but I have, like say it's like local people, oh, they'll see something on TV, like, oh, this person's missing, you should do this case, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, and this is what I'll say to them: are you connected to this case at all? How do you know this case? And they'll say, oh, I saw it on TV. Okay, thank you. I usually don't take those cases. I'll take a case
No.
where there's someone that's connected to the case, um, like a family member or an agent. And then I'll consider taking those cases. Usually 9 times out of 10, I will take them because I know spirit's bringing them to me. But usually if someone randomly does it, I don't do that because I don't know why. I'm not supposed to,
Yeah, but
I
it's almost
guess.
like none of their business potentially.
Yeah, and I totally think it's wonderful that people want to help and they want to make me aware of a situation, but I
Yeah.
can't do that because there's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
If it's meant for
Yeah.
me, they'll come to me, or they could go, or I'll tell them, or I'll say this to them: if you're really serious about this, you can get me a contact, and then I'll consider taking the case on. you know
Yeah. Yeah.
so they'll do a little work, and then 9 times out of 10 I don't hear from them. But sometimes, cases like, say, a lot of people consider forensics to be missing persons, and that's not necessarily true. It's just data and information. Do a lot of homicides, a lot of murders, a lot of, people in the family want to know who killed who and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just amazing, like court cases and stuff. Um, and it's really sad, but you know what I can't stand is it makes me scared sometimes because, and what I mean by that is like I'm aware of the crime in the world. Actually, recently I had a case and I could taste death. You know what I mean? Like you taste
Oh,
evil. And but this person wanted information about a case, a cold case that had been going on for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. And um, when I started in my head, this person was connected to someone, whatever. It was kind of like connected to a detective that had been searching it, whatever. But it was so raw to me, and the things I saw, I didn't want to take the case. I said, "No, I'm sorry, but I'm not getting anything. I'm not feeling I should be working on this case. You know what I mean? Yada yada yada." And I just kind of let it go. But it was evil, pure evil, and I just didn't want that in my life at the time that week. It didn't feel right to me, and I didn't, because you have to remember some of this stuff. I mean, this is real. You know what I mean? It's not a movie. Um,
yeah,
it's not a movie. People are like, oh, that's really cool. No, it's really not cool. It's kind of really scary and sad. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So that in that case, I decided that I was not going to take on that energy. Was it fear? Not really fears. Well, I guess in a certain sense it could be, but more of I don't want to dabble into that dark, dark, dark energy because,
no.
and I'll tell you why, that person's still alive. So I didn't want anything to do with it. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah,
right
well,
for
that's
me.
fair enough. You don't have to say yes to everything,
Yeah,
and maybe sometimes you're presented with these cases and it's an opportunity for you to go, no, I actually don't want that. And when we know what we do want, we know what we don't want sometimes.
that's
When we
right.
know what we don't want, we know what
Absolutely.
we do want. You're like, yeah, no, I'm happy to help, but not that kind of thing. I don't want to go there.
Yes.
It's
Hmm.
so interesting to me. I feel like the population's obsession with true crime.
Oh,
True crime is everywhere. You go to watch a new
hmm,
TV show, you're like typing in comedy. It's like, what? There's 1,000 true crime choices, but no
yeah,
comedy options. I don't get
yeah,
it. What do you
yeah.
think is the obsession with the true crime, or,
Hmm.
is it the discovery and is it the psychology behind these people? I mean, why are people going there?
I'll tell you, it's really funny. I've had two opportunities in the past year and a half to do two shows, crime, on crime related, on my cases and stuff,
Yeah.
and I turned them down. And they couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, but this is life. This is not entertainment.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, you're getting good ratings. I said, but you're just feeding into the evil of these crimes. And I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with it. I'm not going to be part of that. That's not why I'm helping. I'm helping people so they can be enlightened, so they can, not so they
Heal.
can be helped and healed. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
turned down two big, big opportunities in the United States just the past year and a half for shows, and they were big opportunities. I said, no, I'm not doing. They're like, oh, we wanted to put you in case you number. Nope. They couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, I go, it happened. These people are still suffering. They don't need any information on the case. Put it to rest. You know what I mean? I go, this is not entertainment. This is life. And it's, I hate to say it, but some of them were sick. This is like a
Yeah.
sick, this is negative. And I said, I'm not that person. I'm person of light. I'm not person of darkness. I don't need to have money from your ratings over this darkness. This is not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to help people. And
Yeah, yeah. It's
it,
almost
it
like
is a
people get addicted
sickness.
to emotions or something like that, right? They get addicted to feeling pain or feeling sadness or feeling scared, and then they look out and seek out that kind of content. For me, as an empath,
Yeah,
I do not go there ever. I
I know.
never go
No,
there
me too.
because, I mean, number
Yeah,
one, I think that we need to be very aware that, you know, everything that
yeah,
we do is a recipe for how we're living our life. So, like the food we
absolutely.
eat, the content we're watching. I
Right.
recently removed the news app from my phone, and I had
Yeah,
my news app in such a way that I was getting a lot of celebrity gossip
yeah.
because I don't like to read negative stuff. I just
Yeah.
like to look at fashion and who's doing, like lighthearted kind of stuff. But even I
Yeah.
remove that because when we are spending so much time in that kind of content, we're
Hmm.
missing out on the life around us, but we're also being brainwashed. And I think we
Absolutely.
forget that that's what's happening.
Yeah, there's negative energy attached to that, and those are real crime cases. It's real evil. You know what I mean? And then they really jazz it up on TV with the music, and
The
I'm thinking,
music
my
and the,
God, this
yeah,
is. I mean, yeah, yeah, dun 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 dun, and
yeah,
I mean, and yeah, and it really captures the people because they're like, oh, because I think it's an adrenaline rush in a sense where they need to know what happens next. That's
yeah,
fine and all, but it's not cool. It's not good, and they don't
yeah,
understand the evil attachment to it and how there is evil in the world. There is a darkness in the world, but we create that. And what I mean by that is we feed into it, and you're exactly right. I do the same thing. I don't watch TV. I watch YouTube. I
yeah,
watch maybe 90 Day Fiance, but
yeah.
but I
Well,
don't
sometimes,
I don't I yeah. I need a little drama in my life,
you need
but I try to stay
light-hearted
away from
stuff.
the dark stuff. Yeah. But I don't, like sometimes my boyfriend will send me stuff and I'm like, please, positive thoughts today, no negativity. And he'll start
Yeah,
laughing at me because he's very spiritual too. And I'm just thinking, I just don't want that. I choose to be in the light, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
again, it's really sad, times are really hard right now. And there is a lot, and it is a holy war in a sense where it's the darkness over the light. So you've got to
Mm,
be very, very careful over who you're hanging around with, what people are saying, the words that are coming out of the mouth, the music that they listen to, the shows that they watch,
100%.
and
Yeah,
everything that you do, because it is real and it can
yeah,
consume you. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. That's not what I want,
yeah. I remember I
Yeah.
learned a few years ago, I had a sound healer on the show, and she was saying that music is an affirmation. And so when
Uh-huh.
we're not paying attention to the lyrics, we don't realize that we're affirming that stuff. And I remember going, what? And I remember I was listening to this song and it said something like, I feel I'm falling apart. And it was like this house
Oh,
track. And I'm like, yeah, I feel I'm falling apart. And I remember going, whoa, what? No, cancel that,
yeah.
cancel that. Yeah, and it was just, yeah, it's like being responsible for all of the
Yeah.
things that we're allowing into our environment. One thing
Yeah.
that I wanted to ask you about was around psychometry. So I know that you said you get a
Okay.
lot of information from dreams, you get a lot of information when you're being the channel, being the conduit, writing down
Hmm.
words and images and things like that. Can you talk a bit about psychometry?
Yeah, well, psychometry is, vibrations, frequency, and actually, you can actually use psychometry just in a picture as well. Just seeing someone's picture. You don't actually have to hold an object like a rock. I have a rock. I always have rocks on me. You'll know this about me. I'm called the rock lady. It's true. I always have rocks and crystals with me, but mostly rocks. And yeah, so psychometry, everything is vibration, Everything leaves an imprint, the Akashic records, the psychic files, whatever you may want to call it. So if you can imagine there's like a computer and we all have files in our computer, well, that is all the vibrations and that are left behind and imprints, of what we have done or what we have touched or lived. So if you go, say for instance, a picture, we do a lot of this in class, and that people will look at the picture, and you don't have to be a medium to do this. You can be a psychic. There's not much difference between a psychic and a medium, but you don't have to be tapping into mediumship to do psychometry, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
So if you're looking at the energy, say I'm looking at you, and then I close my eyes and I ask my guides, show me this person's life. Boom, boom, boom. I may see something. I may see, if I'm visual, I may see, that they were eating pizza. You know what I mean? Or, they were playing golf, or
I ate pizza yesterday. Stop
oh, is that
freeing me.
why? And so you know what I mean? So, I see them blowing out a candle, you know what I mean? And or I might just feel that my heart hurts, like I'm getting a heart attack or something, So everything's vibrational, everything's frequency. Everything is recorded in the Akashic records, the files, the frequency of everything in and around us. So psychometry is this, where I teach my students, to connect with your guides. Again, your guides are the ones who are running the show. So once you connect with your guides, they're going to show you what you need. Yes, I can pick up this rock and I can get something, but my guides are showing me because I'm communicating with my guides. That is key.
Mm,
Always remember that. Yes, I can feel it physically as a human being. I can read this rock. Oh, it feels rough. I can look at it and imagine and judge the book by the cover, but I don't want to do that because in psychometry, you want to receive the information from spirit. They're going to never judge a book by its cover because it's not always what it seems. Correct?
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really important that you have that establish that connection with your guides and they show you. When we work on psychometry, we do psychic files as well. And so like we'll go in and when I'm teaching and I'll say, okay, ask your guides to connect with their guides because the guides are the ones who are communicating. And I'll say,
Yeah.
show me Lauren at 5 years old. So they might show me you in a high chair or something or reading a book or you know what I mean. So then I'll just keep going, and but what I'll do is I'll tell you what I'm seeing. And there's many different ways that people receive information. Sometimes it's how they see, how they feel. They just might know what we call the clear sees. So there's different ways of receiving too.
Well, I always thought psychometry was when you had to touch a physical object and then you were
Mm-mm.
getting impressions or but if you don't always need to talk in you it but you have to look, it's almost like you have a focus.
Right. It doesn't have to be physical. So like if I
Okay.
sent you, it can be virtual. So if I sent you a picture of a little girl, right? Because
Yeah.
I'll say, ask your guides to tell you about her. Boom. There you go. Okay. So like
Right.
or if I'm like, actually, when I first started, I was in a classroom, there's like 20 people, and we all had pictures we brought to the class, so we hold the pictures. And what we do is we look in the eyes and close our eyes and say, okay, spirit, show me this person's life. I'm getting information. Now, if I'm looking at the picture on the screen is what we do now because I do a lot of online classes, which is great because everyone's in their home and it's so much for relax. I love it. So, anyways, so they're looking at the picture and they're looking at the eyes. They close it. The key is to remember your guides are showing you everything. You don't have to be present to receive anything anywhere. You know what I mean? Yes, I can go and touch a tree. Yes, but I can receive that information from my guides because ultimately your guides are the ones who are showing you. We're not doing anything. Your guides are showing you everything. And that's the key to remember. Yes, we'll have the physical experience. You know what I mean? We might feel the roughness is that, but you can receive everything you need to know from your guides because your guides are the ones who know it all. They're the ones who are showing you. We're just the conduit for spirit.
But I could see that some people might use psychometry as a way of anchoring the information or even telling their guides, like, this is what I want to focus on, even though it's up to the guides to show you. I guess I'm kind of wondering why people would sometimes use objects if they could also just sit there and receive, information just like sitting there. Do you see?
Right, I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, they can touch it because you can receive it this way too. But ultimately your guides are still showing you because your
Yeah.
connection is to the universe, and your guides are showing you that.
Okay, so if I was walking around and I see a
Yep.
watch on the ground and I go, oh, I'm going to pick up this watch and I'm going to
Hmm.
see, from a psychic level, I'm going to open up and
Right.
I'm going to see what I get. Well, I could easily just not see the watch and go, hey, guides, what is it that you want me to know?
Absolutely. You don't have to touch it. Absolutely, because ultimately your guides are always showing you. Even if you pick it up, your guides are still showing you.
I see what you're saying. You're saying that the object, the watch is not talking to you, your guides are talking to you. But if
Always.
I'm
Yep.
seeing if I have 5 watches in front of me and I
Yep.
choose the watch on the left, I only want to know
Yep.
information right now about the watch on the left.
Right. And your guides can show you that.
Right. Okay.
It's all in your intent. So when you say a prayer of intent, when you communicate with your guides, you ask them. Like, so in other words, say I'm in a classroom and I'm seeing spirit, but I'm not seeing the spirit's face. I'm only seeing the spirit's body. I'll say, okay, spirit, show me their face. Bam, I see their face. If I have 10 watches in front of me and I'll say, show me that watch on the left. Boom, I see what they show me. If I pick it up, okay, show me this watch. Boom, I see it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're still connect. It's on a
Yeah.
psychic level, so it's not connecting. You're not connecting through. You're not having commu. So when we do mediumship, we communicate back and forth with the spirit. We're having conversation. But when we're on a psychic level, we don't need to have a conversation. We just need the information, right?
Yeah, exactly. So why do people do psychometry? I mean, I'm thinking about early on in the show, I interviewed, this is going back years. I interviewed a guy who did flower readings. So he would go
Okay.
to like a hall or something, and everyone would bring a flower and they would touch it and they put it in a bag. And then he would go and he would take out a flower, and then that flower was connected to a person, and then he would do a reading on that. So I guess he
Right.
was using psychometry in that way to essentially
Hmm.
go, I'm going to do a reading for Sheila. And that was the way that he was picking the name out of the hat, so to speak. But
Right.
it seems to me like from what you're talking about, psychometry is almost not needed at all. It's pointless because you could just
Yeah.
literally just sit there and
Well,
get
in a
information.
sense, everything is, well, you have to look at it this, well, I don't want to say it's pointless. Yes, it's still energy and it's good energy because you know what I mean. So he's choosing. So like he'll pick up the flower and spirit will show him who that belongs to,
Yeah.
right? But still ultimately it's his guide. So yeah, so he's picking up the
Right.
flower and yeah.
So the psychometry is kind of like a little bit of a show.
Well, not necessarily. Well, you can use it as a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a
Right.
psychic tool. Yeah, but you can use on anything.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's our guide showing us everything. Because what happens is a lot of people will say, "Oh wow, you're really good," like and then putting the ego aside. "Oh wow, oh wow, you're really good. You can do this, isn't that?" I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And I'm thinking, but it's really spirit. It's not me.
It's kind of like where you have an idea and you're like, Spirit just gave you an idea, but I'm not going to go, oh, I just heard God in my ear say blah, blah, blah. I'll
Yeah,
say, I had a great
yeah.
idea, even though I know.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's always spirit. So here's the spirit world. Here's the open tunnel. And here's the person coming for the reading. We're the open tunnel. We're just the conduit always. No matter what we're doing, whether it's mediumship, forensic, psychic, intuitive. Intuitive is a little different because it's a feeling, but it's almost on a human level in a sense. Do you know what I mean? Where you might not be going so deep into the vibration where
Ah,
you
yeah.
might be reading the room. So like I pick up the rock and I'm reading this rock. I'm feeling its heaviness. Okay. I'm being intuitive with the rock. I'm feeling the structure. It feels very old to me. Don't ever judge a book by its cover because this might be something completely different than what I'm holding. You know what I mean? So if you want the true essence of spirit, you've got to go into your guides and they'll show you everything, you know? But I
Mm,
mean, I could read this as a person in psychometry and give feelings and all that, which is fine. That's on an intuitive psychic level. But to truly connect with this rock, I'm going to go into spirit and show me. And oh, I just saw an image of the ocean. Yes, it's true. That's exactly where I got this. And then I could ask spirit more
yeah.
questions. Where you know what I mean? But I've held objects. My brother, we call him the treasure hunter, and because he has like a metal detector. He
Yeah.
goes everywhere with it. And he'll say, Sheila, Sheila, oh, gotta hold this ring. Where'd this ring come from? Okay, I'll go in. Close my eyes, ask my spirit guides, because I'm saying my intent. Ask my spirit guides to connect with this ring. Or please, spirit, connect with this ring. Show me this ring. Boom, boom, boom. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yes. So, but you don't
yeah.
have to touch the ring and you don't even need to be
But
in
you
the
don't
same
have to.
country as the ring.
Yeah. That's how I'm
Yeah.
able to do forensics online or on the
Yeah.
phone or just by all I need is the person's name. Okay, spirit, I'm connect with this person. Show me exactly what I need to know. It's
Yeah. It's so
ultimately,
cool.
and you just got to let go of your ego, and it's hard to do that as humans, especially when you're running a business, this and that. It's hard, you know what I mean? So you just got to let
Yeah.
go and say, okay, ultimately, that's really truly what it is. But the hard part is getting there and getting to connect fully with your guides. But it's easier than you think. It's easier to just be. I tell everyone just be and just sit back and allow your guides to show you. That's hard to do as
Mm.
a human because we have to let go
Yeah.
of the control. We have to let go of the doubt. And sometimes doubt is a form of control. We have to trust our higher power to 5,000 billion percent, and know
Yes.
that we're working for spirit. We're not working for ourselves. Yes, we'd like to ultimately If we're teaching a class on psychometry, people are like, wow, that's really cool. Your job as your teacher or even as the psychic is to show them the connection to your guides and to let them understand that there's something much greater than us. We're working in our light system, but there's a higher consciousness of energy that's really running the show. You know what I mean? And we're beings of light. Our soul
Yeah.
is who we are. These are just our astronaut suits, and I'm connected to my guides, and my guides are showing me this. They're not just my guides, they're your guides too. And what I mean by that's a higher consciousness of energy. And once we let go of that, and I'm sure you've done exercises before where you teach yourself to let go of that, it becomes a lot easier. And if you're having a hard day struggling in life that day, actually when you start really just saying your intent and having the relationship with your guides, piece of cake. Because you won't go there anymore. You don't
No.
put yourself in that position. And there's no medium that's perfect. Every medium is constantly learning all the time. There's new things that are coming every case, every reading, everything you do in life. We're always building on that foundation, but truly is letting go and allowing your higher power to come through and knowing and being humble to it. That's key, because you're a
Yes.
being of light and you're here, and spirit is using your gifts to heal people, to help people, and to spread love and the light into the world, especially where it can be so dark, and to help people on their travels through their journey of life.
So beautiful. Well, that's a beautiful way to wrap up. Sheila, thank you so much for being on the show. Your book, Forensic Medium, The Power of the Unseen. Can people get that over on your website and also on Amazon?
Yeah, they can go to Barnes and Noble or Amazon. There's an ebook and paperback. Yes, that would be great.
Wonderful. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to say before we wrap up? And what's the best way people can get a hold of you? I know you do readings and you're also a
Yeah.
mentor, you're a peace ambassador. I'm not sure there's
Yeah.
anything you don't do, in fact. So, what's the best way people can connect?
Well, you can go to my website at sheilamariemedium.com, and I have a chat box there if you need to talk to me. But there's email, and everything's pretty much there to connect with me that way. I think that's the best way. Yes.
Perfect. And if you had to leave our listener at home with a final thought of inspiration or something to ponder, what would that be?
Let me think. I didn't think of that. Well, just know that everything is constantly changing. Stay focused and move forward. Try not to stay stuck in the negativity and the evil of the world, and clear your path, and just stay focused on your purpose and where you want to be. And know that everything is constantly changing. And this is not the end. This is just one chapter in your journey. You
So
know?
beautiful. Thank you, my sister.
Yeah.
Look forward to having you
Oh,
back
you're
on the
welcome,
show.
darling. Oh, thank you so much. Take care.
Hi. Thanks so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave us a review where you listen to your podcasts and share it with your friends. Thank you. New episodes every Thursday.